Hello everyone. Welcome to the another LLB quarantine lecture series. Today it's on UCSF Chimera. I'm Rajas M. Rao. So I'm a postdoctoral researcher in University of France, Champagnat. So it's a city in the it's a quite popular molecular visualization and molecular modeling tool, and its best thing is it's free for academic, government, and personal users. There are some programs like PyMol. It's a commercial program, meaning you have to pay to use it. But if you're an academic or if you're a government or a personal user, it's completely free. But if you're a commercial user, if you're representing as any company, then it's paid. So 2000, and since then there has been a lot of changes and a lot of improvements to this program. So my favorite molecular visualization program. So one of the original papers, if you're interested to read the research paper on this particular program, you can look up this particular paper. It came out in 2004. But apart from this, there are a lot of other papers that describes the improvements on the UCSF Chimera. So for which I've provided the link here, and the download. I've also provided the link for the download here. So this is available for all types of computer operating systems. It's available for Windows. It's available for Mac as well as Linux. And as far as I know, the installation is also quite fairly easy. Not very difficult to install. So once you have done with the installation, so when you open the UCSF Chimera, you'll get something like this. So you'll get a startup screen like this. I hope everyone is able to see this screen.
Yeah,
Mahesh,
yes,
cool. So when you open the Chimera program, you'll get a startup screen like this. So what you need to do is you need to open a PDB file. So there are two ways to open your PDB structure. There are two ways to open your protein structure from using UCSF Chimera. So first way is you can open from your computer. You can open the PDB file from the computer. So what you have to do is go to Chimera, go to File, Open, or you can press Control O, and it will open a dialog. It will open a prompt showing which exact PDB file do you want to open. So you can do this way, or there's also quick select option where it will show you the frequently used PDB files. You can choose that file and you can open it. So let's say I choose this particular file for UC1. It will open, and this is one of the way to open the PDB file. So the second way to open PDB file is you can directly upload it. You can directly download it from PDB database. So for that, you need to go to. There are two ways. You need to go to File, Fetch ID, and you need to enter the PDB ID. Or you can go to command line and enter the command open space the PDB ID, and it will open the PDB ID. So I'll show you how to do it. So let's just close this and go to File, press Fetch by ID. And show you it will ask you which PDB ID do I want. So let's say I give this PDB ID that's given here 1YTI and press Fetch. So it is downloading the structure from PDB and it will open. So let's say I want to open another PDB protein structure. So I'll do it with command line right now. So go to favorites, command line. It will open the command line. So I'll press open let's say 4 R by O. So you can open it this way as well, and you got the second PDB structure here. So you can open PDBs. You can open your protein structure, your favorite protein structure using these different ways. So once you open that, next step is the basic navigation. So how do you move the protein? How do you navigate around around this protein structure? So to rotate the structure, it's quite simple. Like every other visualization program, you just need to left click anywhere and drag. And if you want to zoom out, you can. There are two ways to zoom out. Just right click and drag. You can zoom in and zoom out. Or another way is you can just use a mouse wheel. If you do the mouse wheel up or down, it will zoom in or zoom out, depending on how you prefer to use. So apart from zooming in or zooming out, you can also transpose the structure, or you can move the structure. So to do that, you need to press on the mouse wheel and you need to drag. So once you press on the mouse wheel and drag, you can transpose the structure, or you can move the structure around different X or Y axis. So this is how you can do the basic navigation of the of your PDB structures using UCSF Chimera. It's fairly easy. It's not very complicated. So once we are done with the basic navigation, we move on to the command line language, because UCSF Chimera has a command line. You can see it right here, and there it's got its own language, but it's not very complicated. So why this is important is that we'll be using this command line to do a lot of different things. So let's say you want to select certain things. So you want to specify a certain parts of molecule or a certain protein. So use different nomenclature. Let's say when you use the symbol hashtag, that means you are saying that which particular model. In this case, we have two molecules here. Let's say the brown color is molecule 0, whereas the blue color is molecule 1. So if you say number 0, you're referring to molecule number 0, which is the brown color one. You say number 1, you're referring to the molecular number 1. So I'll show you. Similarly, if you type colon, it means you are specifying residue. So one example is colon 20 to 30 means you are specifying residues 20 to 30. And similarly, if you press double colon, you are referring to a particular residue. So let's say double colon TRP means you're specifying residue name tryptophan. And similarly, if you write @ it means atom name. Let's say @ CA means you're specifying only C alpha atoms. And fourth one is if you type .A or .B, that means you're referring to a specific chain. So let's say it means chain A, chain B, and so on. So why is this important? We'll be using this for various things. One particular option is one particular usage is for selection. So let's say you have opened the PDB structure of your choice. Let's just close this and open another PDB structure. Let's say we'll open this. So this is the structure of human insulin receptor. So let's say, but you want to select only a certain particular residues. So how do you do that? There are different ways to do that. So one is using select option. So if you go to the top left corner of the screen, there's a select option. Various way to select your residues. So this is one of the select option is one of the way. So once you go to the select, press residue and probe. That means select residue and it shows different types of residue pro. So in that case, you are selecting all the proline residues. So you can see that all the selections is highlighted with a green color. So it means you have selected all the proline residues in this structure. Let's say I can try something else, residue aspartate. Now it has selected all the aspartate residues. So similarly, you can check. Hello.
Yes.
So, and in the same way, or you can also do select chain E. Let's say I want to select only a particular chain of this protein, because you can see there are many domains of this protein. You can go select chain E. So now it has selected only the chain E of the protein, which is a core insulin receptor domain. And similarly, you can also select, go to select chemistry, go to the chemistry of the residues. Let's say I go to select chemistry functional group. Now you can see that there are groups. So let's say I select methyl. So now I'm selecting only the atoms that have methyl group. So you can see that there are a lot of atoms that have methyl group here. So this you can see that this particular residue helix that I'm is does not have methyl group, whereas the loop next to it has a methyl group. So this is one of the few ways, one of the way which you can select the structure. Another way is using command. So let's say I type select number 0. So type number 0. Now types the whole molecule. It selects the whole, selecting the whole molecule. Molecular number 0. So you type select number 0. It has selected all the molecule. Similarly, we'll try something else. Select number 0, 40 to 63. So we can 0 colon 40 to 63. So it's important that note that you need to put colon here, because when you put colon, that means you're saying that I want to select this particular residues. So in this case, we are selecting residues number 40 to 63. So you can see that it has selected different 40 to 63 different residues. All of them are residues number 40 to 63. But the point is they are in different chains. So we need to specify which chain do we need to select. So we can say 40 to, in this case, we can try something else. Select number 0, 23 to 25.a. Or we can try this 40 to 63.e. Get specific residues. That means it has selected the residues 40 to 63 of the chain E. So this is how the command line language works. And you can do something else as well. So let's say we try this, select, I'll select some random residues. Select residues number 12, 57, 96, 117, 257. So it selects only those specific residues with only those specific numbers. And other thing you can also do is you can only select certain particular atoms. So let's say you can select only C alpha atoms. So I can say number 0 @ C alpha. So it has selected only the C alpha atoms, right? So these are different ways you can use the selection language. One more method of residues. You want to select, let's say you want to select a particular residue. You zoom into the residue you are interested in. This residue. Right now, it's showing serine 378.E. That means serine 378 residue of the chain E. So when you zoom over, when you put the mouse pointer on that residue, it shows which residue is it. So just press the control over that residue, control and click on that residue, and it will select that residue. So now it has selected only the serine 378 residue. As I was saying, you can just put your mouse pointer on the residue you are interested in. Press the press Control button and press left click. It will select the residue. Let's say if you want to remove the selection, just press Control and left click anywhere, not on the residue, but left click anywhere. It will remove the selection. So just press Control and press left click. It will clear the selection. So that's how these are different ways to select the residues.
Rajas, I have a question here. So
Yeah.
is this common for all the OS system, Linux or Mac, everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same instruction for all the. It's the same way for all the operating
OS.
systems.
Okay.
It's the same with Windows, Linux, as well as Ubuntu.
Okay.
So that's the good thing of Chimera. You can. It's the same interface for all of them.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah. So now we know how to select the residues. We'll try to show different styles of representation. So as we know that different residues and protein atoms can be represented differently. So we'll try to play with different representation styles of the protein. So let's say now we'll go to actions. We'll select atoms or bonds. We'll press show. Now it's showing all the atoms or bonds in the proteins. So I'll do the same thing now. I'll go to actions, atoms or bonds. I'll press hide. Now it will hide everything. So apart from that, I can show if, let's say I want to, not interested in the in this cartoon style. I just want to look at the C alpha atoms of the protein. So I can go to actions, atoms or only chains. So it will press only the chains of the proteins.
Sorry, could you please repeat the command line part? Where would you go to type it? So somebody has asked.
Okay, so for the command line, UCSF has got its own command line language. So there are specific specify the atoms. So when you use the hashtag, that means you are specifying the model number. So when you say, let's say, select number, you're saying select the molecule number 0, which means it will select all the protein in this case, because there's only one molecule here. So let's say if you select number 1, it means you'll select molecule number 1, and so on. Another thing is, when you say :12, means you are specifying the residue number. So let's say when you say residue number 12, select :20 to 30, it means you are selecting residues 20 to 30. You can see here it has selected the residues 20 to 30. Similarly, let's say I want only C alpha atoms of 20 to 30. I can press @C alpha. So what it does is it selects only the C alpha atoms of residues 20 to 30. So that's how the So I hope it's clear now.
Yes, Rajas.
Mahesh,
yes, Rajas, it's better now.
And it got clear now, the selection part.
Hello, Divya, are you okay with the selection part? Is it clear now?
Yeah, but I'm not able to see the command line in my installed program.
Okay. So you have installed
Okay,
it in Mac?
so to open the command
In Mac.
line, first you need to go to favorites.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Got it.
just go to the option called favorites. There's
Yeah,
command
got it.
line.
Yeah,
So
now I got it.
yeah, the thing with Chimera is by default it doesn't show the command line, but we need to toggle the command.
Exactly. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Thank you, Divya and
Yeah.
Rogers.
So if any of you have any questions or doubts like this, just feel free to stop me because I'll try to clear them there itself. It will be more clear to everyone else. So we'll move on to using the doing the representations. Uh, let's say we can use the ball and stick representation as well. So we'll go to actions, atom/bonds. So I press ball and stick, and I'll press show. It'll show it. It'll show it using the ball and stick representation. So I can try just the stick representation. It'll show just the stick representation. Similarly, I can try spheres. It will show the van der Waals spheres. So we can try different ways to represent the atoms. So if you don't like this atom representation, you can again go to atom/bonds, press hide. It will hide the atom representation. So similarly, want to remove certain atoms. Let's say I'll select one particular residue, this residue number 168. I'll press Control and select it. It has selected it. So I'll go to Actions, Atoms and Bonds. I'll press Delete. It will completely delete the residue. But the thing is, we need to be very careful while using this because if you press this by mistake, it will delete all the atoms. So that means all the structure is gone. And if you are working with, let's say, some big models like this, it will be quite problematic. So this is a useful function, atoms delete, but you need to be little careful while using this. So similarly, you can try ribbon representation as well. So go to ribbons, and if you press show, it will show it. And similarly, actions ribbon hide, it will hide all the ribbons. Same way, we'll do it again. Actions ribbon, and if you press the hide, it will hide the ribbons. And yeah, last is surface representation. We'll go. You press surface, and if you press show, it will show the. So try it again. Okay, there's sometimes there are the surface representation as well. So I'll try to load a different protein structure. Maybe this is a big structure, that's why it's having the problems. I'll try 4UC1. So
Rajas?
Rajas?
Yeah.
Hello, Rajas. Can you please just use the example protein alone for us to be quite easy about it?
Sure.
That will be better because I'm just using the example one.
Yeah, sure. So let's say we'll try this example one. We'll try surface. Try show. It will show the surface. So this is useful to look at the surface of the protein, and sometimes you'll get to see the cavities and tunnels. So these cavities are quite important in the sense that sometimes those cavities might be the site for binding of ligands, or sometimes they might be tunnels. They might be pathways for passing of certain molecules through the particular tunnel. So this tunnel-like structure will be particularly visible in case of membrane transporters, more than the substrate proteins. So now we are done with the representation mode. Yeah. So one thing we need to be careful about surface is sometimes it may get memory intensive. As we've seen here, if we have really big proteins and we are trying to show it in use use surface representation for all of them, sometimes Chimera may crash as well. In that could be one of the disadvantage of the Chimera. And apart from the, so you can also set the transparency for the surface. So you can go to actions, surface, and set how much transparent you want it to be. Let's say if I give 50%, it'll show the surface with 50% transparency. So apart from changing the modes of display, you can also change the colors as well. So first thing we'll try is uh, so the first thing we'll try is we'll go to actions. Sorry. So we'll go to actions and color. We'll select orange. It will color everything as orange. So similarly, we'll go to actions, color. If we choose to color using heteroatom, it will give different colors based on the character of that. So some of them, the blue ones are C, red one may be hydrogen, oxygens, and nitrogens may be given another color, and so on. And if you want, let's say if you want to choose a different color, so if you go to color, there are certain finite of colors. Let's say if you want more colors, just choose all options and press show all the colors. It will show more color options. Color suits you best. So apart from the choosing specific color, you can give specific different color based on the different let's say different secondary structure as well. So go to tools, depiction, press color secondary structure. So these are the three different color choices for secondary structure. And if you press apply, so it will just turn off the surface. So it will apply color based on the secondary structure. You can see that the beta strands are in violet color and helices are in orange color. Similarly, if you we can also show it as a rainbow representation, where we'll go to tools, depiction, and press rainbow. This is the rainbow color scheme, and we'll press apply. It will show the rainbow. So the speciality of the rainbow is we'll get to know where is the N terminal and where is the C terminal. So usually blue is the N terminal. Its protein starts from here and goes here, and red is the C terminal, and the protein ends here. So this is also another useful way of representing the protein to show where we can know what's the domain architecture of the protein. So, but let's say if we want to, the problem with the coloring is if we just choose the color as it is. Let's say I choose the color tan, it will color all the residues. But let's say I want to color only a particular set of residues. In this case, I want to color only residues 20 to 30. So for that, I need to select the residues. I need to use the command line language again, where I'll press select number 0, 20 to 30, give enter. It will select the residues number 20 to 30. So now I can give a specific color to these residues. So let's say I'll give color blue, and it will give the specific blue color to these set of residues. So apart from the colors, we can also give labels as well to the proteins. So to do that, we'll have to go we'll press label and give name. Something else as well. letter code, we will give the one letter code here. And there are also other means, let's say residue, one letter code plus specifier. In this case, it will show the one letter code plus the residue number. And the dot A here means it's the chain A. This is useful if there are multiple. So we can label the residues as well. So to label the residues, we need to go to actions, label, and go to residue. We press name, it will show the 3-letter code for all the residues. Similarly, if we go to actions, label, residue, 1-letter code, it will, instead of 3-letter code, it will show it as 1-letter code. If you want to use the residue numbers as well, we'll do the same thing. Instead of 1-letter code, we'll give 1-letter code plus specifier. It will show the residue number plus the 1-letter code. So here the dot A means it's part of chain A. So this will be helpful when it's in a large protein complex where there are different chains. So it will be useful to represent which one is chain A, chain B, and so on. So and then if you want to customize the labeling scheme, we can go to label options, and it will show the different fonts we can give to the label. So either you can try the Times New Roman or the Arial font. Sometimes we can also give bold. We can change the font options depending on how we like it. So if we want to remove the labels, we have to go to actions, label, just press off. It will switch off all the labels. So go to action, label, residue, off. It will switch off all the labels. So here in labels, sometimes people might get confused in the sense that there are two different things. So the first part of the label is for atoms. Here where we can see the name, element, and so on. This is for atoms on. If you want to label residues, you need to go to residue and give the specific options for the residues. Let's say if we want to label specific residues, we have to do the same thing again. We need to select the residues. Let's say select number 0, 20 to 30. Give enter. It has selected the residue. We'll go to actions, label, residue, and 1-letter code plus specifier. Now it has labeled all the residues between 20 to 30. And I can turn it off in the same way as well. We'll go to actions, label, residue, switch off. It will turn it off. So this is how the labeling is done. Since we are done with the basic representation and selection, all those sort of basic stuff with the Chimera, we'll move on to the structure analysis. So there are a lot of ways to do the structure analysis with the Chimera. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover all the tools, so I'll be covering the most important ones. One of the most important ones is displaying hydrogen bonds in the structure. So hydrogen bonds are quite important because they maintain the integrity of the structure. So to display all the hydrogen bonds, we have to go to tools. We'll go to tools. We'll go to structure analysis and press find H bond. It will open a prompt like this. So it will show the various parameters. So for most of them are cutoff values for which we have to show the hydrogen bonds. So here it shows the color and the line width, and sometimes there are constraints as well. There's a breathing room sometimes for which certain types of hydrogen bonds have higher distances, and certain types of hydrogen bonds have deviations in the angles. So this is sort of compensation for. So we'll just use the default parameters and we'll apply. So you can see that it has drawn different type of black lines. So each of the black line shows different hydrogen bonds. So I'll just give the show the action. I'll just show the atom representation. I'll go to actions, atom, show. Now you can see where exactly the hydrogen bonds are happening. Hydrogen bonds are being where exactly are hydrogen bonds located. So you can see here there's one particular atom here. There's a water atom, and there's a bond between water atom and valine residue here. So in protein, in biological environments, such type of interactions with water and protein residues are quite important. Similarly, we can see that in case of beta sheet, there's a beta sheet structure here. As we know, the beta sheet involves the parallel hydrogen bonding between the two beta sheets, and we can see the same kind of hydrogen bonding here. So apart from this, we can also, if you have more than two structures where two proteins are interacting with each other, we can use this tool to find out where exactly the interaction is taking place through hydrogen bonds. So this is a useful tool to find out where exactly the hydrogen bonds are being connected. So this is one of the structural analysis tool. So we'll just declutter everything. We'll open the structure again. So this was one of the structural analysis tool. The other analysis tool is finding the distances. So we can see that there's a protein here and there's a ligand as well. We can see that this ligand is denoted by the atom representation, whereas the protein is represented by ribbons. So we want to check what's the distance between the let's say this particular lysine residue, this lysine residue, the nitrogen atom of the lysine residue, and the glutamate residue, 58, glutamate residue number 58. So we can find out the distance between these two particular atoms by going to tools, again structure analysis. We'll go to tools, structure analysis. We'll press find H bond. Sorry, we'll go to distances. I'll repeat again, tools, structure analysis, distances. So it will open the distance. It will open another dialog, another window. So here we need to specify which exact two atoms we need to find distance with. So let's say I want to find distance between lysine 104 nitrogen atom. I select controls. I press Control Select. I want to find distance between second atom, which is glutamate 58 oxygen atom. So here I won't use Control Select because it will remove the first selection. So to add to the selection, we need to press Control plus Shift plus Select. So for the glutamate 58 atom, I'll use Control Shift Select. It will use the second atom. It will choose the second atom as well. So let's say if I do Control Select, let's say I choose the first atom using Control Select, and I use the second atom. I use the same Control Select for second atom as well. So it will choose the second atom instead of first atom. So to extend the selection, we need to press Control Shift plus left click button. So we'll do Control Shift left click. It has chosen the second atom. So now we need to press the create. Press create button. It has created. Now it's showing the distance between two buttons. So it's showing the distance in yellow color. Let's say I want to change the color. I want to change it to black. So I press on the distance color, showing the RGB color scheme. I adjust the color parameters. So I want black. Well, I'll adjust the parameters. Now it has changed to black. So this way we can find out the distances between two interacting atoms with the using Chimera. So apart from distance, we can also find out what's the angle between a set of three atoms. Let's say I want to find angle between these three particular atoms: lysine 45 nitrogen, lysine 45 carbon, and lysine 45 carbon D again. So I'll choose these 3 atoms. I'll choose control select lysine 45 carbon. So control shift select lysine 45 carbon and control shift select lysine 45 nitrogen. So I have chosen these three atoms, and now we'll have to go to the angle/torsion tab. We'll go to angle/torsion. I'll press create. So now it shows the angle between these 3 residues. So it's 114 degrees in case of these residues. You can do the same thing for torsion as well. So I can choose 4 particular atoms. Let's say I'm choosing these particular 4 atoms. I'll use glutamate 103, control shift select 2, 3, 4. So now I've chosen the 4 atoms. I want to measure the torsion angle for this particular atom. So I press again create. We need to change decimal place. So we can go to the you just need to press create, and it will show the angle torsion angle for the particular group. In this case, it shows 140 degrees. So this is how we can use distances as well as angle features to measure distances as well as angle between different atoms. So this is particularly important. This is particularly useful. You have two different sets of atoms that you think that are interacting with each other. You can find the distances or you can find the angles to find the what distances are they located in, or what sort of angles they adopt. So which is quite important for understanding the interactions between different atoms of the protein. So we'll now move on. Now that we have done the hydrogen bonds and we have done the distance, we have found the distances and we have found angles. We'll move on to the next level of structural analysis, that is to find geometric clashes or contacts between the atoms. So this is particularly important. This is important when we have 2 different proteins interacting with each other. We want to find out where exactly are the contacts occurring. Or let's say we have another X-ray crystal structure. The resolution of the structure is not very good. We are and we are not very sure if the structure is of very good quality. In that case, we will try to find the clashes. So because if there are clashes in the protein, that means the structure might not be of very good quality. So to find geometric clashes and contacts between the angles, we'll go to tools, structural analysis again, press find clashes or contacts. So we'll do that again, tools, structural analysis, find clashes or contacts. So it will open a new window. So here, let's say we need to choose what set of atoms is the first group for which we want to find contacts. So let's say this is residue glutamine 103. So I'll type select number 0103, and I've selected this particular residue. And let's say I want to find contact to with glycine 48. So we need to define the first group of selection. For that, we need to press designate after we have defined the selection. So it has defined the first group of selection as glutamine 1 has defined 9 atoms for the selection. So at the same way, we need to define second set of atoms between which we want to find the contact. So now we'll select the glycine 48. We'll press select number 0:48 and press enter. It has selected glycine 48. So now choose the second option, that is second set of designated atoms, and press designate. Now it has select. Now you are saying that choose the second glycine 48 as a second set of residue. So now we'll try to find contact between glutamine 103 and glycine 48, where we have defined both these set of residues as contacts. So now we'll try to find, so the next set of options it asks is whether we want to find out clashes or contacts. So I'll press default contact criteria. So the basic, the basis of finding contacts is it tries to find out the overlap between the van der Waals radius. So I'll give out the contact, I'll press the contact, so it finds the contact criteria. That means if there's an overlap of at least more than minus 0.4 angstroms, that means it classifies as a contact. So third set of options is it asks what do I need to do with the contacts. So I asked it to select, and maybe we can color the contacts as well. We can draw the pseudo bonds. I'll change the color. I'll change the color to black. Okay. And endpoint atom. Yeah. So we can show the endpoint residue as well. And if needed, we can write everything to reply log as well. So I'll choose write information to reply log. Press apply. So now we can see that it has found two contacts between the residues 103 and 48. So we can go to reply log now, go to favorites, reply log. So it shows, so this is basically the result. This is basically the reply of all the commands we gave. So here it shows that allowed overlap is minus 0.4. It has found two contacts. One is between glutamine 103, oxygen atom, and nitrogen atom of lysine 48. So there are two numbers here. First is overlap, van der Waals radii overlap, and second number is distance. So how the concept of van der Waals radii, how exactly does it calculate the van der Waals radii overlap? So it calculates using this formula where overlap is van der Waals radius of atom I plus van der Waals radius of atom J minus the absolute distance between two atoms, and there's an allowance factor as well. So I'll just give a brief illustration of how this is done. So just open. So I'll just open the paint and show you how this is done. So let's say this is the atom I, and this is the atom J. So let's say it has the van der Waals radius of Ri, and this has the radius of Rj, and the absolute distance between the center of two atoms is Dij. So when I say overlap is 0, that means the sum of these two minus is 0. That means that's the total overlap of the protein. But we need to mention, important thing we need to note is that this van der Waals radius is not an absolute concept. It's just the van der Waals radius. So however, for contacts, we use the threshold as 0.6. So if we want to find the, for clashes, we use the van der Waals threshold of van der Waals radii as minus 0.4 angstroms. But if we are trying to find a clash, we use 0.6, because it's generally accepted criteria is that if the overlap of the van der Waals radius is more than 0.6 angstrom, that means it's not a contact, it's more of a clash. So which is why for the default clash criteria is 0.6 and default contact criteria is minus 0.4 angstroms. So this is how we use the contact find clashes or contacts criteria. So we'll just keep this reply log. It's a useful way to find out if there are any errors in or whatever we are doing. So now, next we'll move on to superimposition of structures and calculation of RMSD. So for this, I'll try to load different structures. So I load two protein structures which are similar, but they are slightly different, and we'll try to superimpose. The structures. So I'll open another protein called open2mgy. So now it will open a membrane protein that has NMR structure, and you can see that since it has NMR structure, it has 20 different models. So now what we are going to do is we'll try to superimpose all these models, and we'll try to find out RMSD between these models. So for now, I'll hide the numbers, the first protein structure. Yeah. So now you can see that it's a transmembrane protein. So we'll use only the residues of the transmembrane domain to superimpose all the residues. So for that, we need to select the residues of the transmembrane domain. So in this case, the transmembrane domain starts on residue 6 and it ends at residue 157. This is just an example I'm showing. So we'll select these residues. So now it has selected residues 6 to 157. Since the superimposition, we need to make, in this case, all the number of atoms are correct. But if let's say if we are trying to superimpose two different proteins, we need to make the number of residues will be different. And we need to make sure that the number of residues remains the same when we are superimposing. So that's why we will select C alpha atoms. So we'll press @C alpha. Yeah.
I have a small request. It's almost 1 hour. So can you make this the second part as a second session, one more session, because the people might have.
I think there are just one more slide after this slide. I think it's I'll just finish it.
Okay. Okay, then I think people are okay with it. Okay, then go ahead, Rajesh.
Yeah. So first we'll select the residues of transmembrane domain. We'll go to tools. We'll go to structure comparison. Go to matchmaker. So here it's asking what's the reference structure I want to choose. I'll use the first model of the 2mgy as reference, and I'll use rest of the models of this 2mgy as the structures to match. So here I'll tick further restrict matching to current selection. That means it will do the superimposition only for these set of residues. So we'll keep rest of the parameters as default. Here it's asking what sort of matching do you want to do, and it also asks for what sort of alignment algorithm and all. We'll just keep these as default and we'll apply. So this will take some time, and if you have more number of structures to superimpose or you have bigger proteins to superimpose, sometimes it might crash as well. So we might want to be a little careful about the memory part. So it will take 1 or 2 minutes to complete the superimposition of the structures. Yeah, so now the superimposition is complete and it's showing that RMSD between all the 20 superimposed structure is 0.4 angstroms. You can also see it at the reply log as well. Yeah, so 152 atom pairs were chosen, and RMSD for all the superimposition is 0.409 angstroms. So Similarly, if we want to find RMSD between different structures, we can use the RMSD command in the command line. So let's say we want to find RMSD between two different models. RMSD, we use the RMSD command. We give the first set of residues, number 0:62157 @ C alpha. Second set of atoms is number 0:62157 @ C alpha. So in this case, number 181, since it's an NMR model, we'll press 0.1 because it's molecular number 0, model number 1. And in this case, we'll press molecule number 0, model number 18. So press C alpha. Okay, so we use this particular type of selection where we give RMSD number 1 to number 0.126 to 157. Now there must be some sort of mistake with the selection language, which is why it's giving an error. Yeah. So press RMSD. So you can see that the RMSD here is 0.66 angstroms. So the only thing we need to be careful about is we need to make sure the selection is correct. If we give wrong selection, it will throw an error just like it did right now. And we need to make sure that the number of atoms are the same. If the number of atoms are different, it will give, it will show that RMSD is different. So apart from this, you can do a lot of other tricks as well with Chimera. You can color it based on surface electrostatic potential. You can add the hydrogens as well. You can renumber the residues, or you can add the custom labels as well. These are minor tools. I've given instructions on how to do it in the presentation. And if you want to find out more number of commands, what are other commands the Chimera has, you can go to help. You can type command index, and it will open the list of commands in a web browser. So it will open all the list of commands in the Chimera. So these are the complete list of commands which can be done with the Chimera. So as we know, we don't have enough time. So we are not able to cover everything. And if you still have more questions about this, you can go to the user's guide, which is at this website. And thank you all for listening, and